Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Thursday, the 11th of March, comes to you from London. And we're seeing, again, a mixed picture on the screen, mixed colours. We start by looking at currencies. Remember, this is my dollar, my long-term, medium-term and short-term view of the market. And we see here the dollar is just weakening on that short-term chart. So we're seeing some resistance kicking in there on the short-term point-and-figure chart. But the fact is that we have turned a corner on the dollar for the moment, so that's looking much stronger on the medium-term chart. The euro is looking a bit stronger this morning with that dollar reversal, and if we look at the dollar-yen chart, we're sitting at 108. We haven't quite got as bearish here, but it is turning. So we're just seeing dollar weakening as a result of just pulling off some of that strength. Looking at sterling stronger against that weaker dollar this morning. So we've still got these targets in place. We do have a new downside target, but it is counter trend, so we're not paying too much attention to that at the moment. The sterling euro chart still looking very strong, sitting at this 116.90 level. We had 116.86, so that was our target. We've got there. So it's a case of waiting for new targets to be generated on the short-term chart. If you're trading currencies, go to the 1 minute data. Looking at Bitcoin, sitting at $54,000, still holding bullish on all three time frames. The US stock market was up last night, the S&P up 0.6%. Tech is underperforming. We had the big announcement on the fiscal stimulus in the US, and that has seen tech stocks just not doing as well. We are seeing the futures looking stronger this morning. They're up 0.7% on the S&P and up 1.7% on the Nasdaq E-mini. So strong opening from tech stocks is what we're expecting. Looking at the VIX volatility, that's down 0.8% to the low 20s. So the markets are less fearful now that that's out of the way. The FTSE future is up 0.2% this morning. The cash market in Germany is actually down very slightly, but to all intents and purposes, markets are fairly flat. The CAC 40 in Paris is up 0.25%, having a very strong week there, looking at that weekly candle, so looking better there. And the Japanese market also just starting to come into recovery on that short-term chart, still looking good on the long term. The Hang Seng was up 1.6%, and the Chinese market really starting to reverse and power ahead again, up 2.3%. So finding support, looking stronger there. The long-term chart still got great targets there. The Sensex India up 0.5%. Indian stock still looking very strong, and the Aussie market actually fairly flat, so no big change there. Looking at the gold chart, looking a little bit better than we were, come off a bottom here. So the key thing is that 1675 level, 1680, that needs to hold. A lower low would be bad. So we will start to see some new targets kicking in. Does look like we found some interim support there, so maybe gold is now just through the worst. Silver is also looking stronger today and still bullish on all three time frames, so stronger looking than the gold chart. Copper up a further 2% and looking very strong indeed. Bond yields in the US, we've got the US 10-year yield falling back, actually back below the 1.5% level, so just short-term bearish. We've got 1.42 as a target there, but the fact is that this bigger target, 3.26%, is baked in now, and it would take a lot to reverse that target. We'd have to pull back and undo this big run up from 1%. So if we see rates falling back below 1%, then that 3.25% target is off the cards, but that's a big ask. So for the moment, long-term bullish, wandering out in the trend, and looking at the 30-year just to confirm, seeing some weakness kicking in here as well, and we've got some downside targets. If you're trading bonds, these charts are really quite essential. Looking at the energy mix quite quickly now, Brent crude just at the top here, up at 68.75. Just struggled to hold that $70 level. We've got another target to 72. We do have a new target to 83, so that's the first real upside target that we've seen for a while. So new highs on Brent would be significant. WTI, we're also seeing targets higher as well. So the outlook for crude is still looking pretty strong indeed. US nat gas at 2.7%, just teetering along this support level really, so no big changes there. But it is showing signs of just coming off the bottom. Storage numbers today will be key, of course. Coal is up 0.8% at 69.20, so 69.75. So we are seeing a little bit of improvement there this morning. Looks like coal is going through this consolidation phase and recovering. And emissions sitting at 41.60. Remembering our target area last week was 41 to 42. That was when we were in the high 30s. That's where we've gone. We've got upside targets, and of course our emissions report out to clients last week has been quite key. Gas prices, no big changes on NBP today, but we are just seeing a little bit of a recovery on that short-term chart. TTF front month down 0.25%, but has had a very good run of late, sort of coming off the bottom here. 17 is the level. That's been the critical level previously. We're back through that, so for the moment looking okay. We have got targets up to 18.05, 18 and 18.28. Notice how the 17.85 was met. You really need the OTC data here. Taking a quick look at German power. That's down this morning. We put out our power report yesterday. Long term, some very big targets on power. Keep an eye on these point and figure charts. But we're seeing we've got the upside potential is pretty good now that we've broken. We're just giving up some of that gain. And if we look at Nordic power on the daily, we're seeing we're just pulling back as well. But we do have a pattern that's looking pretty bullish. And notice again how this target was given and met. 28.30 was given at 26.30. That's where we've got to. So that's looking pretty good. Just a quick look at the coronavirus stats. This is coming from Our World in Data, a new data service that we've connected to an Updata. All users get to use this data, so you can just update it in your tray as one of your new feeds. Just interesting looking at the stats. So this is new cases, and here we're seeing the dark blue line is the UK, the red line is Germany, the light blue line is France, and the green line is the US. So France cases still just edging higher, so that is a little bit of a concern. And we're seeing February, and this is cases per million people, we're seeing Germany just kicking up a little bit as well. Interestingly, we're seeing the US and the UK falling heavily. The UK now has the lowest number of cases per million based on the test results, of course. So this is slightly down to test. Vaccine data, UK well past 35% now, US getting up to 30%, and we're still below 10% in Germany and France. And if we look at the patient numbers, this is actually data from a week ago, we see that France is still rising, so that's a little bit of a worry. We are seeing the UK falling away heavily, and then the death rate, which is probably the most reliable statistic, as morbid as it is, we're seeing the UK now has a lower death rate than Germany, and we're also seeing France's death rate is fairly static at the moment, so it's not falling greatly. So there is some evidence the vaccination data is starting to kick through. Spare a thought for the Czech Republic. It's seeing its death rate rising very significantly, and Brazil, unfortunately, the situation is very out of control there, so that is looking still lots of worries globally whether this will filter into markets with other territories, but for the main part the big OECD nations are starting to see improvements. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.